What's up, guys? This is TheKephas. Welcome back, everybody, to WoW Leveling Wednesdays. This is episode 3, and this is probably going to be a much shorter video because I wanted to use this opportunity to answer a question that I do get asked a lot now that I'm making guides for WoW Dragonflight, rotation guides, and macro guides. And I get asked a lot for macros for classic WoW. And I wanted to sort of discuss this and kind of share the obvious challenges that I have when it comes to doing that sort of content for classic WoW. To give you guys an idea, right now in classic Wrath, I have a paladin at level 68, still in Outlands, and that is it. I think I have a hunter around level 22, maybe. Everything else is even lower than that. It takes a very, very long time to level up a character in Wrath of the Lich King. And, I mean, in retail, I still don't currently have every class leveled up to 70 yet. So that's why I release these guides over the course of time, because I have to get the classes all leveled up, and then I have to sort of build them out, test them out, and then sort of, make macros according to, how the class plays. So it takes time to not only just to get the characters leveled up, but also to figure things out. So to try to do that in Wrath, as much as I would love to do that in Wrath, it just doesn't seem possible. I just don't have the time is the main thing. And beyond just that alone, another challenge in Wrath is that specs don't work like they do in retail. In Wrath, you're still having to respec. You can get dual spec, but again, that's fairly expensive, and it takes time to, get the money up. Trying to do that for all the classes, again, it's kind of difficult. So trying to make a macro or a guide for a class in Wrath with multiple specs, and then trying to get one for the specs that people request. With Warrior, there's Prot, there's Arms, there's Fury, and you can only have 2 dual specs. So it kind of creates a problem there where you can't just switch specs, on the fly. You have to pay to do it, and then you also have to get dual spec to get 2 specs, and that's another problem as well. So it's just a lot harder to do in Wrath. I suppose if there was like a place I could go where I had a bunch of max level characters, and maybe then I could do it, but it's not feasible. Unfortunately, I'm only one person. A lot of sites out there that have guides, they have, a team of people that do this stuff that focus on each class individually. Of course, that's another reason why I tend to focus on, basic level knowledge for each class. And it's just because I'm one person and I'm not an expert at any class. I couldn't certainly be an expert at every class. So, and then of course trying to make macros, but Gnome Sequencer does work for Wrath, and if you're looking for Wrath of the Lich King macros, then I suggest you head over to wowlazymacros.com. They do have guides there, and there are classic macros, there are retail macros, because another thing that I get a lot of requests as well when I'm making these guides for do this class next or whatever, and it's just one of those things where I have to get every class leveled up, and so I do have kind of a set release schedule. I want to try to get one guide out for every class. It's usually the easiest DPS spec for that class, or at least the one I personally like the most, or the one that's easiest to macro. I start with that, and then I go through the second wave and do the next set of specs, and then tank specs and whatnot. So that tends to be the approach I make. So if I don't get to your class spec choice right away, or you ask for that one next and I don't do that one next, I'm not necessarily ignoring you. It's just that there's just a way I have to go about doing it, and I can't just I can't really respond to specific requests. Also, like just in one video, I'll get like 5 different requests. Do this one next, please. And it's like, you know, they'll come when they come. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the idea. So, you know, that's for retail. As for classic, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I wish I could, you know, honor those requests. You know, people asking for, you know, those types of guides in classic. I tried it a long time ago, back when classic first came out, and I quickly realized that the best I could ever do is just give a, you know, a base level, like leveling rotation guide, that kind of thing, because I would never hope to get those classes all leveled up to max level. And it's, unfortunately, it's the same for Wrath, because it's like in retail, I think it takes like 10 hours to get a character leveled up, maybe 15 at the most, depending on, you know, how quick you are or whatever. In Wrath, to get a character from 1 to 80, it's like, man, it's like 50 plus hours, I think. It's pretty crazy. 40 hours to like 60 hours, you know, depending. So it's a lot of time. And like I said, I don't even have 1 at max level myself. So, yeah, so like the idea of trying to make guides, you know, in-game macros for all the classes, just, and then all the specs, it just, I don't see it something I could honestly do. So I do apologize for that, you guys, though. But I hope that you understand, you know, where I'm coming from. I've thought of maybe different ways that I could do it. But, you know, the problem is, like, I could try to do it without having max level characters, but then I wouldn't be able to test out the macros to make sure they even work very well. So that's the other challenge. And then, like, honestly, like, not to keep adding issues, but like classic, some of the rotations are very different. You know, like, you can't just spam abilities. Like Paladin, you could probably make a macro for. It's pretty easy. You honestly, if you want to know how to make a macro for Paladins, you just put all the abilities and their rotations in a macro and then just spam it. Like, that's Paladins are probably one of the classes that's the easiest. Maybe Beast Mastery Hunters. Like some of the classes though, it's like with Warriors. I don't know how you could macro a Warrior, honestly, because you're having to use Heroic Strike. You've got Rend. You've got other abilities that, like, you don't just spam. So there are some challenges there with some of the classes, and so some of them I don't even know how well they would be macroed. I could maybe see even like a Death Knight might be a little bit challenging, with just they play a little bit different back in Wrath, so it's not quite the same. But either way, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I hope that makes sense. Why I don't do a lot of Wrath content in terms of guides. It's just not feasible, honestly. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. And as for the order of the guides, you know, it's kind of fixed. You know, they'll all get out there when they do. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a few months. We'll probably be a couple raid tiers in by the time I get through everything. But I'll try to get through each class at least once, so that way at least there's one guide out for each class and everybody kind of has something. You know, but yeah, and it tends to be the easier ones to get through first, because some classes are hard to macro. Like even Arms Warrior, it's kind of hard with how Execute works and how some of the abilities works. You know, so there are some that are just a lot harder when as opposed to like a class like a Paladin or even like a Enhancement Shaman, which, you know, it's just a bunch of cooldowns. Those are really easy to macro. So that's what kind of governs the choice and what order I go in. So yeah. So either way, I want to continue to you know, level up characters, get them maxed out, continue to crank out more guides over the course of, you know, the next few months. That's the plan, and I hope you guys, again, I really appreciate all the enthusiasm and all the support. It really does mean a lot. But either way, you guys, I hope that makes sense. I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I'm more than happy to try to do some Wrath Classic content, but unfortunately, guides, I just don't know how feasible that is. But yeah, either way, you guys, thank you so much for your support and your enthusiasm on these guides. I'm so glad that they help so many people out. But I just wanted to drop in and kind of give that explanation. I hope it makes sense. I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. And with that, I will see you guys on the next one. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, let me know by clicking that like button. And feel free to share it with your friends so they can enjoy it as well. And if you'd like to see more videos, you can subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to be notified as soon as new videos are posted. You can also follow me on Facebook, and if you'd like, you can support my work on Patreon. Links to all that stuff can be found in the description below. This is TheKephas. Until next time.